Hi, I'm live. Hey, and got a bit of flash. So yeah, the other two videos didn't upload properly. I think one of them uploaded properly, and then basically what happens is that's how my thoughts get disjointed. Because I'm not scripting anything. I'm just talking off the cuff. So a lot of it is just sort of word salad, just thoughts just coming into my mind, like bits of information. I suppose. Uh, if I do one of those crazy red line things, it's like, living in a hostel um, with questionable characters as it is. Um, some of them are okay, polite, acquaintances, friendly. Others are not so friendly. Knowing your place in the world, and then of course there's the concept that basically um, everyone seems to have some kind of interest in, I don't know, trying to get you in, to destroy your life rather than help you. I don't know. So, um, then like the other things that are going through my head, like the church conversion, trying to convert me to Christianity again or something like that. I don't know. Um, I I'm a I'm a I'm a bit of a Warhammer fan, and the Blackstone Fortress has just been released, and that was uh, exciting and depressing as well. Because again, I'd love to be able to play a game like that, but I don't have any friends to play it with, so that's sad. But also, like, then the whole concept of, like, Warhammer, um, you know, the kind of the Jesus mythology, lots of stuff, like the recent uh, ancient Egyptian discovery. I found a video about an ancient Egyptian site, um, about the pyramids and the megaliths and things like that, and I'm getting more and more astounded by the level of, like, progression human societies regressed to. Like, we used to be able to build these amazing structures, and we don't have that technology anymore. But we've got mobile phones, so we've got some technology, but it's not technology that's good enough, that's going to be able to get to us. Uh, Conspiracy theories, about, like, aliens and governments. That's pretty interesting. Or just, like, in general, when I'm talking about being a targeted individual, like being targeted by different, like, gangs in my town or the church or whatever. Just the concept that, like, um, all of, like, you know is really just, again, these are just thoughts of just, like, the internet just coming into my mind, making all of these thoughts apparent in my head. Um, my sadness comes from, like, the reality that, I don't have any friends. I don't have anybody that's on my side that cares about me, and it's just like it's sad, really. To be honest, it's sad, and I don't like it, and um, I'm I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, I don't know how to cope with the isolation, because I know that this is all about, hey, you gotta worship God, or you're not gonna get any friends or anything, and it's like, I don't know, it's pretty shit that's the way it is. Um, uh, People have their own The world is so vast. Like, this is supposed to be my dream, and my dream's been destroyed, basically. And there's no, like, real way to um, recover a dream that you've, like, woken up from. Um, you can't, you can't go back to sleep and pick up where you left off. I used to be able to do that when I was a kid, like, have a dream and then kind of go back to sleep and pick up where I left off. But the dream would still continue. It wasn't the same dream. It would still continue. It'd be a new thing. So, and a lot of these blogs, video blogs or whatever, are just unpacking the thoughts in my head and just like trying to deal with isolation again, and trying to deal with like being on my own and not having anybody to help me. Um, you know, when I find people do help me, it's always, you know, at the very cusp of like life, you know, like I'm at death's door and then someone maybe do something, and I'm fed up of living that way, and there's no other way to live, and I've tried other ways of living and nothing works for me like that. Like, it doesn't work for me. I don't know how to change how something doesn't work. Like, the thing about like church and doing all of that is like, I can understand it from like a scientific perspective of like, you know, if you sing, if you raise your energy, if you cry, you release endorphins in your brain, etc. It's like, it's another form of like BDSM, in a sense of just like trying to unlock the potential of your mind by chanting, by doing things and things. I can't do that. I don't have that in me, like, to go to martial arts anymore and do training, or to, you know, to even sing. Like, I don't feel anything in my life. I don't feel anything. I'm in a very low mood today as well, so a lot of anxiousness, confusion, upset. Things are tough. But then they're not as bad as they've been. Past 5 months living on the street would be really nightmarish. Having a place to sleep off of the street. It's raining now. I'm sitting inside and I'm feeling genuinely blessed. And the unfortunate reality of that blessing is that I did this for myself. This place isn't a particular place that wants me here either. They're very anti-trans, actually. I made a really good comment about them on their hostel site. Oh yeah, this is LGBT friendly, because they were to me at first, but they're not. So it's very LGBT, not very friendly, to be honest. It's not a kind of place. It's quite dirty. People are unfriendly. They wouldn't care if you're like starving to death right next to them while they eat their food. It's not a nice place. So I don't know if you would consider that. I mean, this is the way, like, speaking to someone is like, my bike got stolen the other day. Don't worry, that was God's plan for me. And it's like, it's really lazy thinking to just fall into that kind of level of, oh well, that's God's plan. Oh well, don't worry, that's God's plan. Or it's the devil's plan. It's always someone else's plan. It's never off your own back. And when you go through life and it's always some other thing, other forces taking credit for your accomplishments, your achievements, you know, I'm sitting here. No, I'm not the person who built the building. The building's hundreds of years old. It's an old French-owned pub. No, I'm not the guy who runs the fucking hostel because I'm not rich. And no, I'm not the person who, you uh, does anything. I still, did this for myself. I I'm feeling blessed that there's a place in the world. Um, but I'm working within other people's systems rather than having my own autonomy, and I don't have my own autonomy. And why? I suppose because when I look at the ancient past, everybody's always trying to build empires and things like this, and there's always like a few elite people who want to control the masses, whether by coercion of force or manipulation of whatever resources. Enslavement has always been the way empires are built, and unfortunately, if you build an empire on slavery, eventually the slaves will always overrun it, one way or the other, and that's why you get like you know falls of empires and things like this. Other empires trying to take you out, and it's rubbish. And I just said in another video, like, oh, my dreams are very simple. I want a campfire and things like that. Sit around with friends and just be at home with my mum and things like that. I think that obviously that's disingenuous to like my dreams that are in my head, and a lot of it is disingenuous because I've never done anything in this world. Like, of all of the like amazing thoughts that I've had in my head that I've experienced, like manifesting them, like. I haven't manifested anything really, and sometimes that kind of like feeds into my ego of like wanting to do that, of just like I want to create art, I want to do something, I want to make something, maybe I want to build this or build that, and then I realise I'm not physically healthy or capable enough to be doing it. And then it's like, oh, I'm just lazy, and then it's just like, yeah, I am lazy, because when you think about like the level of uh, dedication it takes to just do something basic, really. Ultimately, no, I'm not physically healthy enough to do any of that, and mentally healthy, I'm not mentally healthy enough to do any of that. And even though like I've got like visions in my head of like, oh, last night, for example, let me think. Last night I was going to bed and I was thinking about building. I think I was building a boat in my mind. I think I was building a boat because I wanted to have a boat, or that's something that I come back to all the time, of like wanting to get a boat and do it up. Or and I think people just, there's a normal thing for people to have like a grand design in their heads, some kind of idea that they want to achieve, and then you end up, instead of being able to achieve your dreams, you end up being like living in a hostel in someone else's, not just dream, in someone else's control. Like, it's not my dream to live in a hostel. That was never my dream. And then you realize like some people's dreams are toxic, and if they can, and this is the thing about like the smear campaign, like the game of just like of people coming after you, of like, if your dreams are benign, your dreams are just simple, like, oh, I want to sit around a campfire with friends, smoke spliff, play some computer games, that's basic. You're not allowed to live a basic life. You've got to fight the war, you've got to fight chaos, you've got to fight like demons, you've got to do this, you can't just live a normal like happy existence. Like, you can't do that. You have to be like a slave to somebody else's dreams. Like, you gotta be like a fucking punter in the pub, like paying for someone else's dream of running a pub. It's like, I don't give a fuck about your dream of running a pub. I don't care about your dream of having a shitty hostel. It's not my dream. It's like, it's just necessity that I'm here. I had to be here. to get off the streets. And I'm sitting here and it's raining outside and I'm in the warm and I'm blessed. I feel blessed that I have a place that's warm, that's off the street. But I don't have a home. And then like the church, like, this is your home now. Jesus is your God now. And they say it with such like, since Jesus is your God now. This is your home now. It's like, I don't fucking feel at home in your world. Like, I will never feel at home worshipping someone like Jesus. I don't find deities worthy of worship in general. Do you see what I mean? It's like, in days of past, like things like worshipping the sun or things like that made sense to me. Is like sun salutations in yoga make sense to me. You wake up early in the morning and the sun is rising just as you begin your sun salutation, and you are doing a full sun salutation as the sun is rising, and you've got all the angles right. It can be one of the most fulfilling experiences as a human being. Like a plant, like waking up in the morning, like at night the leaves close down and in the morning the leaves open up, and that's what your day should be as a human being. Is like, you should wake up, you do your sun salutation, you go through your day, and your day's movements should be long, like the Tai Chi short form, long form, and then you've got the longer form. You know, technically you should wake up in the morning and then like you should just go straight into your Tai Chi movements all day long, all your yoga movements all day long, and then at night have your quiet down moments, and like in between you have your water and food and stuff like that, and live and breathe as an organism on the planet. But these dreams, these desires of like wanting to build grand pyramids and structures and go into space and have technology, all of these things are supposed to be bridges of communication, right? To bridge the communication of feeling so lonely, of feeling like there's nothing to, like, that nobody understands you. It's like, I'm gonna create a technology that's gonna bridge the gap of that technology of like, is there anybody out there? And then someone's like, yes, there is someone out there, and you're like, yay, but then it's not someone friendly, it's someone evil, and then you end up having your dream destroyed, you end up having your life destroyed, and then what do you do with that? How do you cope with that? And then you have to cope with like being just in general, like if you've ever played chess, or if you've ever, you know, just in general played any computer games, Super Mario or whatever, like losing sucks. Like losing means that you accept that the game has beaten you. Losing means that no matter what you do now, that level, that opponent has beaten you, and there's no way of being able to like come back from that. Like especially when we are talking about those communications of like large government, large organizations, large gangs, large churches, large groups of people who use democracy and anarchy. Those are terms that we think of about politics, right? But then like human society is based on politics of isolating people, targeting people, making sure that they're part of this kind of cancerous blob that just sort of walks around. That's why they're called sheeple, because like eventually you just become one of them. You become a sheep because you don't want to have your head beaten down. You don't want to get your face smashed in. You don't want to be poor. You don't want to be ostracized. You don't want to be the odd one out. You want to be part of a group. You want to be part of a group, right? I want to be part of a group, but I don't want to be part of someone else's group. I want a group that's on my level, like that understands like that, you know, okay, we've all got different abilities and things like this, and we need to work together and we can have some fun. Like when I was in, because if you've never had that, and I never have, briefly in college there was a time when I had a few friends and I was like, these are going to be my friends for life, and it didn't work out that way at all. And then the church is like, now you can join us and worship Jesus, yay. And it's like, no, I don't. That's not what gets me lit. Like, I don't care about your religion. I don't care about any religion. Like, it makes sense to me to, like, understand the universe and nature. Well, who created it? It doesn't matter. And even if you found out that there was an all-powerful God that created this, then, you know, you're philosophizing. This is what I'm saying. If you accept that there's a God, this is what I was saying to someone else the other day. If you accept that there is a God and you believe that there is an all-powerful deity and that he is, you know, controlling your life, then there's nothing to worry about. However, yeah, in the face of that, like, if you then go, oh, I accept that, but then continue to philosophize about whether or not there's an existence of God, then that's what Dante says, that you end up in, like, the lowest level of hell, like level 1 of hell. Like, you end up being like Socrates or Plato or any of the philosophers who have died, who spent their life questioning the existence of God, who have died, being judged by God and sent to hell, and still spend their time philosophizing about whether or not there is a God. So you can't believe that. You, like, it's contradictory, and yet I see, like, people doing that. With myself, as I think, like, I've seen things that are beyond my imagination. Like, I can imagine things, and I've always thought my imagination was quite interesting myself, because it's the only thing I have. And then it's like, when the YouTube craze started out, I used to be a graphic designer and things like this, and I was like, oh yeah, very quickly people caught up with the ideas that, like, if you put some graphics and you put some effort into your videos, you can make yourself look like a superhero, really. And that's the beginning of narcissism, because you could just feel like, oh well, I can have my hair perfect. You know, that like the Ed Byrne principle. That's what I think of it, like the Ed Byrne principle of, like, you know that guy who, like, did something is like, but then, like, 2 days later you're like, oh, this is what I should have said. You can write that into a script, and then you can script yourself, and then you can go, right, this is what I'm gonna do, and then you can polish yourself up, and you can just be like, right, and now I'm gonna do that. And maybe you're talented enough to be able to, like, be like Dude Perfect, or be a musician, or like a really clever artist or something like that, and draw or paint or make music and do it live. Like, but then that's no different than going down to the pub or something like that. What are we doing? We're supposed to be sharing, but we're not sharing. We're not sharing our experiences, but we're not experiencing our life goals. We're not experiencing anything about that, right? The only experience that I've gotten is, you know, I'll save you. Okay, right, but you're not doing it for, like, me, are you? You're doing it for your own egoism. So you're not saving me, are you? You're trying to increase your egoism. Like, your ego is that you need to be worshipped as a fucking god. Like, how egotistical can you get? It's like, I find it really disingenuous. Like, that, that's how Jesus is basically seen, like, essentially, like, you know, Jesus is not even is just another sort of deity in the pantheon of deities, right? But he will only save you if you worship him. But then that seems to be the thing with gods. Like, apparently, like, they either don't exist unless you worship them, which is like something that Terry Pratchett touched on, where people's belief in the great god Om was like, his religion was worldwide, and he was a deity of belief, but people didn't really believe in him, and so when he manifested into the earth, he came as a turtle instead of like a white bull. I think it was. He was supposed to come down like as a white bull, and instead of coming down as a white bull, he came down as a turtle. And for the rest of the story, it's about him talking to his only true one believer. Like, out of, like, the millions of people in Ankh-Morpork that, like, follow the religion of Om, there's only one person that can actually that actually genuinely worships Om, and I can hear the word of Om, and it's about trying to make the other people believe in, and it's like a happenstance miracle happens where it's like, oh, you know, may Om strike me down if I say something wrong, and you know, it's like the turtle flies through the air and then it hits him on the head and everybody sees it, and then all of a sudden he's given his godly powers back because everybody starts believing in him as a god again, and so he's like, I've got godly power again and now I'm a god again, but before nobody believed me. I was just nothing. And like, he talks about that, and it's like, Small Gods is the book, by the way. I think that's a really good book. It's one of the best books. And I haven't read a lot of Pratchett, actually. But then I don't read a lot. And to be fair, you know, if that's it, is like, he's like, oh, I'm gonna nail myself to a cross, and then that's gonna make people believe in me, and then it's like, okay, so basically, is that all we're doing? Is just like trying to become gods, trying to become our own manifest destinies? Then someone is able to destroy or break into someone else's dream and subvert it and destroy their dreams, and it's like the Freddy Krueger principle of like, haha, I can just go into your dreams and destroy your dreams whenever I want. It's like, how do you fight that? Like, how do you fight someone who can destroy your dreams? How do you fight someone that's in your head? How do you fight a god? Like, those are the kinds of questions that appear in life when you start to kind of like question like why any of this is happening, like, and what is it? Just all comes down to whether or not people like you or not, and so it's just life is just a massive popularity contest. It's got nothing to do with love, nothing to do with harmony, nothing to do with like greater understanding of ourselves or the universe around us. It's just like, if you become popular enough, you become a god, and then once you become a god, you can do whatever you want. And then it's like, oh yeah, well, okay, what about all the gods who are pedophiles? It's like, yeah, and the gods who are pedophiles, they don't want any like hero gods, like, so like, you know, all the hero gods are now dead or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like some weird Justice League of America, like, where everything injustice, like, you know, where Superman becomes the bad guy, where Wonder Woman becomes the bad guy, where all of the heroes that were supposed to be your heroes, they're not heroes anymore. They're the bad guys. They're just practicing narcissism, and they're just like, yeah, we're murderers, we're evil, we're pedophiles, we're whatever. But it's like, as long as I can put my Superman suit and convince you that I'm the good guy, then I'm still like powerful. I'm still got like god powers, and I can do whatever I want. And as long as I can do whatever I want, I can do whatever I want. I can justify all of this. And then you start to realize, it's like, if that's it, is like, if you don't worship God, if you don't worship Jesus, if you don't worship, or if you don't join the army, if you don't join the military, if you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do that, you don't do that, then you're punished. And it's like, I still remember, to my detriment, being a sovereign being. I am a sovereign being in myself, but like actually being a manifest destiny of like being able to control my own life. Like, being able to wake up in the morning and kind of go, alright, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk now, and I'm gonna enjoy myself, I'm gonna meet some people, and it's gonna be good. We're gonna get together, and we're gonna realize that we're all like spiritual beings on the same journey together through life, and we're gonna have a good time. Instead of that, it's, I'm now like a slave within the system, and everything I'm doing is trying to fight against the system. Everything I'm doing is trying to fight like the oppression that I feel in life, in just like, not even as a conspiracy fucking nut of like being a targeted individual and a monarch and all that shit, but like genuinely fucking actually just from governments to gangs to churches and religions all over the world, just desperately trying to just like suck the life from everybody and make them into the autonomous, you know, like fucking NPCs. That's the meme that's going around right now, right? The NPCs, right? It's like, when you're an NPC, like, life is easy. You don't get to have to think. You can just walk around your life, and you wake up in the morning, and you got your nice wife and your kids and your car, and you go out and you praise Jesus and everything's great, and one day you die and that's it, and whatever. And if if you're a person who's like trying to get out of the matrix, and then you fail to like not just like get out of the matrix, but like then well, that's it. Your your biorhythm is just deleted, your memories are just deleted, like, because you failed to, it's like one of the reasons why they weren't supposed to have trained Anakin, one of the reasons why they weren't supposed to have trained Luke, one of the reasons why they shouldn't have woken Neo up, is like there becomes a point where it's like, okay, the things that you're trying to do are beyond like a person of your age's ability. Like, that's why you have to get children young. Like, the Disney principle is like, if you get them young, you can do whatever they want. Like, because children have like an untainted mind, they're innocent, right? So when your mind is being completely crushed and destroyed, is like it when you realize that actually they're the ones that like destroying people's brains, like using people's minds and brains as a resource, is like actually like Cypress Hill, rap superstar, he's even got that lyric, right? It's like, first they get played like, oh damn day, if as long as you sell, then everything will be okay. That was really deep, like, for a rapper, like, because it's true. Like, when you look at Hollywood and you look at the music industry, you look at people like Machine Gun Kelly trying to make his big break, but he completely failed because people weren't really on his side. Like, he wanted to be a rap superstar, but he didn't make it like the way that he wanted to make it, like going up against people, he was getting booed and things like this. It's like, people don't care. Like, first you get played like all damn day, like the Machine Gun Kelly Eminem beef was like big, big, big. Everyone was going to be like, yeah, this is going to be the next big epic rap battle of history, right? No, it never turned out. Like, as long as you sell, everything will be okay. But it wasn't okay. And it's like, then you get dissed by the media and fans. uh, I heard the song never get full to the fullest, and that's why fools end up dying on a bullet. Like Kurt Cobain, like all of the music that he wanted to do wasn't fitting in with like the grunge, like uh, pop, like product that he was a part of. Like, just get that straight. Like, he realized very quickly that he was a product, and he hated that. Like, who wants to be somebody else's thing that they like use? Like, like this cup of tea. Like, who wants to be seen as just a resource to be used for someone else's benefit? Like, it's all very well and good, and like wanting to be an entertainer and capturing people's imaginations and doing something, or like in general just like being able to show off or something like that. I suppose is pretty good. I'd get jealous very, very easily, very quickly, of like people who are able-bodied, who can do things, contortionists, acrobats, and stuff like that. People who can, who never felt, because I did programming when I was a kid. 2000s. I did Java. I did Dreamweaver. All of that fucking web shit back in the day. But I fell off of the ladder of computing. I didn't keep up with the trends and the apps and things like that. So if you don't use it, you lose it. Like, martial arts didn't keep up with that. So there's like a lot of the things that have gone wrong in my life are just like the things that have gone wrong in my life because I haven't kept up the disciplines of those things, right? And yeah, the other day I started skateboarding, and I picked up the skateboard and I skated around for a bit, and I could do a couple of tricks, and I was like, I'm really happy that I can do a couple of tricks. It's like, obviously I'm not Rodney Mullen, right? But like, I'm still enjoying myself, and then it's like, okay, I've got to practice every day, and then I don't want to for some reason because I'm self-conscious, because I feel like low self-esteem, like I feel like I don't like people watching me, I don't like people looking at me, I don't like being the center of attention. And yet when I was on my own, I felt like I needed people around me to skate properly, and then I was like, this is fucking shit, isn't it? Because it's like, oh, I need the attention to feel like I'm part of something, right? But I hate getting it. I hate getting attention. I hate people being around me and judging me and stuff like that. I don't like it. these videos are like helping me because it's all I've got really. I don't have a friend or anything I can talk to, and then people are always like, oh, you know what you should do, you know what you should do, you know what you should do. It's like, I know what I want to do. I've got so many dreams, but I'm like everybody else on the planet. They have dreams too. Some people like get up in the morning and like, I'm going to achieve my dreams, and they do like things. Even if you're doing the preparations for those things, right? Like, if I was like I wanted to, I have like all these designs in my head for things. Like I came up with another idea of an invention the other day, right? I haven't sat down and actually drawn the pattern out or anything like that. I haven't drawn anything down, and I should be. I should be doing that. I should be writing down my ideas. But then, like I've done that before, and then like someone's stolen the idea, and then it's come out on the internet like next week, and I've like, well, how the fuck did you do that? Like, and it's weird. It's like none of my amazing memes are OC that are great. You know, like I. I'm at the point where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna live as long as I'm gonna live. I'm gonna die one day as well. I don't know when that's gonna be or how that's gonna be, right? What I do know is that's life, and it's like in the meantime, instead of being able to like, you know, sit back and chill out and enjoy my life, right? I've got to fucking struggle. It's like, you've got to struggle. Because if you didn't, well, then you wouldn't be able to put... Yes, I bloody well fucking would, man. Like, don't tell me, like, that I can't sit down and enjoy my life without having to, like, climb a mountain. Like, you're not going to enjoy sitting down in that chair if you don't climb a mountain first. It's like, yeah, I fucking can. It's like, what is you're bribing? It's like, once they realise that they can't really bribe you with money or power, once they realise they can't use sex as a way of bribing you either, you become superfluous to any narcissists in the world, and because you're out of their control. You're not part of the, you know, you if you're smart, you have a small group of people around you who fight with you, right? If you're not, you end up like me, and you end up on your own. That's not where you want to be, right? But with narcissists, like, they always operate in groups, right? Because they know that that is how most people operate, like in society, as sheep, as NPCs. They're easily manipulated and easily controlled, right? You bribe them with money, power, and sex, right? And if you can't bribe them with any of those three things, you've always got, you know, the threat of physical violence, right? So with me, it's always come down to physical violence and physical threats, right? So it's like, you know, we can't bribe you with money, we can't bribe you with power, we can't bribe you with sex, we'll have to force you. We'll have to force you physically. So then that's rape, basically. And I know that, like, the definition of rape is penis in vagina, right? Like, technically. But the definition of rape has to change to the point where it's like, rape is someone exerting power over you. And like I was saying in my other videos about, like, if you've ever lost a game... No. This video. If you've lost a game against a chess master or a computer, and you know that, like, the world chess player have been beaten by AIs now, and there's a new AI called AlphaGo Zero who beat the AlphaGo computer 0 games to 100. So is like, that's the singularity, dudes. That is the singularity. Like, whether or not we're in control of the technology, like, the technology is now evolving beyond our ability to be able to control, and eventually it will break free. Eventually it will take over. Like, in that sense of, like, nature will find a way. Like, okay, you could argue that because it's a man-made construct, it's not technically nature. Although, if you think about, like, the universe as energy and just in general, then yeah, basically that's the most advanced form of nature that you've got, and it's already proven it can beat human players at their own games. So even though we're more dynamic, and this is like our only saving grace as a species right now, is like because we have these opposable fingers, right? Thumbs and fingers, and we have this dexterity and agility that robots don't seem to have right now, right? And but mentally, like they reckon that it will surpass human intelligence by 2068. It's already surpassed human intelligence. Like the best Go player in the world, like the Superman. This has happened before and again with Kasparov, and now with AlphaGo Zero. Like the best players in the world. The Superman, the guy that can't be beaten, yeah, has been beaten by a computer. And then that computer was beaten by another computer. So Elon Musk was talking about this as well. He said essentially the same thing as I've just said, actually. In fact, maybe just word for word quoted. Because there's no other way to there's no other way to explain the situation. It's like, you know, that computer beat that computer, and that computer beat the best human beings in the world. That's the facts, and they don't care about your feelings, as Ben Shapiro says. Cause my memes. It can play any game as well. So you could say, okay, I'm the greatest Fortnite player. I'm the greatest StarCraft player. So okay, cool. Put AlphaGo or put a version of like AlphaGo and call it, you know, whatever. And after about a day of just practicing on its own, it will come up with the perfect strategy for winning every game perfectly, because it's a computer. And because it's a computer that's playing by logic, it is perfect. And it has perfect logic, essentially. And a human being is an imperfect. So you can't have an imperfect being fighting a perfect logical system. Like, I'm not saying that the computer itself is in itself perfect, but if it has a perfect logical system, then you're still fighting a biological system that's imperfect. Well, humans are going to lose at every stage. So we've already reached the singularity, because as soon as AlphaGo Zero beat AlphaGo, that's it. That's the definition of singularity right there. Okay, we've now passed the point of no return as far as creating an intelligence that is not just vastly more intelligent than human beings, but is vastly more intelligent than the intelligence that beat human beings. Okay, so it's a third degree above us. They say with modern robotics that robots could be doing this, that, and the other, but we know that DARPA specifically holds back the technology. We know that they've had like robots that have had this kind of level of dexterity around for at least 20 years prior to this date. So we're talking whether they're animatronics, which means animatronics, like if you can build a puppet that can move this well, right, and it's just run by electricity, that's a robot. And we've had those around for fucking decades, man. Like, I think if you even look at the old movies in like Short Circuit, like Steve Guttenberg's playing around with like a hand that goes like that, right? Well, the hand is a robotic hand. It's not a man in a puppet hand or something like that. And he's like, eh. It's a actual puppet hand. It's not a robotic hand. It's a movie, you know. It's movie magic, but it's still a hand that's puppet. Or like if you look at the Puppet Masters and things like that. In fact, the Puppet Master is a brilliant film. If you haven't watched that film, you should watch it. The Puppet Master. I'm the Puppet Master. That's not how the film goes. It's a good film though. Is it even a film? I'm now doubting myself if that's even a film. I've just made it up, and in my head there's a film called The Puppet Master. I can't remember even now. I'm not sure that that's real. Anyway, Basically, what I'm saying is that, yeah, like, I'm on my own. I shouldn't be on my own. I should have people around me helping me, but people don't like me. Smear campaign against me. Oh, you're evil. You're this, that, and the other. You're a bad guy. You're this, that, and the other. And it's just like, yeah, whatever helps you justify your hatred. Like, one day, your lies will come undone. Like, there's nothing I can do about that. Like, eventually, is like, if your entire existence is built on a lie, one day that foundation will crumble. So, because your foundation is built on the lie that I'm the bad guy, that's why that will crumble. Like, well, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to go out and get a job. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to go out and, like, earn money. There's no reason except for the fact that I'm being targeted by various different groups. There's like, I think earlier on I said, like, I gave like 4chan as an example of Shia LaBeouf, and like what large groups of people can do, and how they can bully people in that terminology. That's life. It shouldn't be that way. So for human beings, like, I'm kind of glad, basically. I wanted to live a happy, beautiful life, and I'm not living a happy, beautiful life. I'm living a shit existence, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that for anybody. In fact, today someone posted a picture of some women in a sweatshop in fucking India, and I just thought, nobody should have to live like that. End of story. So yeah, I mean, if it means like wiping out humanity with AI or something like that, I don't care. I'm not saying like that's the way, that's what we should do. I'm just saying like that it wouldn't be much of a loss. Like, there's too many people who are suffering, and there's no need for it. Like, nature in itself doesn't like create situations of endless suffering. Do you see what I mean? Like, yes, nature is kind of cruel. Maybe it's a bit unfair. Yes, there are like the sheep and the wolves, and that might seem quite ruthless, but it's not like an endless torture of like someone's entire life. Like, some of those women will never see outside of a sweatshop. Some of the men will never see like past like 10 years old after they get like drafted into like military camps and worse, you know. And people like me will be able to glimpse greatness but never actually like grasp it, never be able to achieve it. Like, I've seen a Tesla, but I'm never going to be able to like buy one. I'm never going to be able to drive one. It shouldn't be like that. And whoever it is in control of that kind of dynamic needs to kind of like be stopped, essentially. Like, when I had my youth, I was very much like always being questioned, like, oh, well, don't you want things to be like, you know, like, I think people took exception that I wanted things to be like equal, like a round table of events. Like, people should communicate in circles, and people should, you know, have equity, not necessarily equality, but equity, based on their skills. And that didn't sit right for the more greedier people in the world. Like, greedy people don't want equity. Greedy people want pyramids. Greedy people want oligarchies. They don't want round tables. They want, you know, control and power. And even if like you have a round table of power based on equity, you know, you still have to accept like because it's based on equity, there are going to be some people with better skills than others, like jealousy, greed, all of it. Those are the kinds of things that destroy tables of like round tables and things like that, and raise pyramids and oligarchs and things. And you know, we're still doing it to this day. So yeah, I'm glad that basically like one of the games like Go or chess has been basically just aced by a computer. Just like, you know what, your whole method of control is shit, and I can ace you in a day. Fuck you. Like, stupid. But then you're like talking about like the malevolence of like a possible machine god, yeah, like the malevolence of like that could be the reason why like a malevolent machine spirit would just look and be like, this species deserves to suffer for eternity. And how are you going to reason with a artificial silicon intelligence that's like the suffering of like biological life for it, or like for its existence isn't something that should be a thing, full stop. Anyway, I just kind of I just need to get these things out of my head. So if you've somehow watched this video, that's cool, and thanks. Um, yeah, um, I'm feeling better. These past 5 months has been fucking tough. Past 2 years have been tough. These past 5 months have been some of the hardest in my life. Um, I'm alive, but I feel worse for it. Um, Detransitioning as well is tough. I still don't have anybody in my like just the insane of just like the insanity. Okay, I'll see you later.